Well, hello everybody, and hope you can hear me, and hope everything's working right for this Thanksgiving Eve special edition of Around the Layout, doing a little live video, and just figured I'd come on here, and as it's Thanksgiving Eve, I'm gonna kind of wing it a little bit, and just say a couple of the things that I'm thankful for with the podcast, and uh, use this as an opportunity to spread that out there. Winging it. I've got some notes, not nearly as prepared as I am when I do a show, but having a little fun with it out there. You should be, if you're listening on Facebook or YouTube, feel free to throw some comments in. I'll bring them up on the screen if you're willing to do that. And glad you could join me here again on Thanksgiving Eve for just a few moments here as I talk about the podcast and things, really the people that have made this such an enjoyable experience and whatnot. So let's get right into it. The first one I want to, there's just so many people that have really helped make the podcast great and really have helped me along. I've got a long way to go. I'll be the first one to tell you that. Learning the craft of interviewing and putting together the podcast and a whole bunch of other things. There's just so much to learn. But there's been a lot of great support behind me. And one of the first and big key pieces, and still to this day, the sounding board that I've got from Dave Gardner. Dave is not even a model railroad guy. Dave is a sports simulation guy, but Dave is a good friend, a fellow podcaster, and he's done some really cool things to help me along the way. The technical end, what mic to use, getting me hooked up with the Rodecaster, which I record all the episodes on, and all the technical things that Dave's been able to help me with. And then the interviewing part. Dave and I actually, before the podcast started, did some mock interviews. I interviewed him. He interviewed me. He pretended to be a difficult guest. He was the over chatty guest. He played a whole bunch of different roles and really helped me get into the idea of how to handle those and what questions to ask and those sort of things. So Dave has been a huge help. I talk to Dave very often. I think we went a couple days and I jokingly jumped onto one of his live streams and I said, I just need to hear the sound of your voice. Cause it was kind of funny. We hadn't talked in a couple days, and that's a long stretch. So Dave, thank you very much for all the help that you've given me to get this off the ground. Well before the first episode that aired on April 12th, you and I were talking about all these concepts, and you gave me a lot of help and guidance. Dave even helped with the logo, and he was a great sounding board. So just want to thank Dave and make sure he gets the recognition he deserves. One of the other groups, well, let's take a look before we do that. Let's jump into the chat a little bit. Michael, hello. Glad you could join us. Lauren, happy Thanksgiving. I think you guys in Canada put it on a little before us. I was told today that we're behind schedule here in the United States. So happy Thanksgiving to you, belated. Tony, happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Alex, thanks for joining us tonight. Paul, we'll be talking to you about you in a minute. My good friend Paul Kessar, who hangs upside down in Australia. Andy, happy Thanksgiving. And Doug, nice New England Central locomotive there. Yep, and we're all very thankful for the hobby and thankful for all the people in our lives and that support us, and it's a great thing to have. Jeremiah, welcome. Tim, happy Thanksgiving to you as well. So thanks again for joining me tonight. One of the other things that's kind of been really cool as I started the podcast back, again, I said April 12th. My first guest was Joe Mammy. The second guest was Corey Scothon. Probably botched your name there, Corey, but my apologies. And then Mike King was my third guest, and I was really dipping into the well of guys I knew really well, which is the Tri-State Railroaders group. And I want to mention, the guys that I operate with regularly and have been really a great sounding board. They they give me great advice, maybe put up with it a little bit as I talk podcasting to and from operations and get their ideas and, kind of the sounding board. So Mark Herrick, Don Iris, the aforementioned Mike King, Tony Donatelli, Joe Sapiga, Corey again, and Joe Mammy. You guys have been a huge help to me with the entire podcast. So just want to really thank all of you guys for all the support you've given the podcast. Another thing that's really cool is that, I got it right, Corey. Oh, I just saw that message. I got it right. Don't ask me to say it twice because I'll probably say it a different way the second time. Alex, appreciate your show. What were the motivations to jump into the podcast? So the motivation was, I had a little background. I went to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting in 1998. Thought I wanted to be on radio back then. That was right out of high school. But I didn't do anything with it. But I've always had a desire to get behind the mic and be able to do this. I've had some false start projects and maybe some smaller projects as well. Dave included me on some of his live broadcasts that he did, during the pandemic, especially. And then it really got me motivated as I heard other podcasts. And listen, there's a lot of great other podcasts. I've put a post up about that. I'll talk about that a little later. And I felt there was this a need or something where that one-on-one interview was really something that appealed to me, to really be able to talk to a person and drill down on what it is that motivates them. And as we started in the pandemic, we were holding these Zoom meetings for the Tri-State group. And the meetings were just phenomenal. The information that was coming out of them, and it just gave us this space to share more of our story and what motivates us in the hobby and all these great things. And I was like, oh, this sounds like a podcast. So it all started to come together, and inspired by a lot of the other podcasts, especially a few of them, Modeler's Life, Second Section was starting up at that time, Crossing Gate. I'll talk about those all in a minute. It really was just inspirational to say, let me start something and kind of got it off the ground. And that's where we've been running. So great question. And does it take away time from modeling? Oh yeah. I think the layout suffers for the podcast. Not to say that my layout's fairly small and very manageable, but I find myself up here in the studio doing more stuff for the podcast than I do downstairs, other than getting it ready for an operating session once a month. So, but well worth it. Let me go back to some of these here. Sean, happy Thanksgiving. Super thankful for the podcast. The Tony Cook episodes are some of the best model railroading content out there. Credit to Tony Cook on that. Tony Cook is a consummate professional. You just put a mic in front of Tony and he knows how to handle it. So hoping to have Tony back on the show in the near future. He's got a pretty busy schedule in front of him. He's got a lot of magazines to handle, and he does a phenomenal job with every project he touches. And when he comes on around the layout, he just knocks it out of the park. So thank you, Sean, for the compliments. Nick, happy Thanksgiving. And then Chris Bell, I've enjoyed your podcast and appreciate that. And hopefully you get through the catalog. I think we're up to show 17 now. So hoping that you're all enjoying the podcasts. So let's talk about what makes the podcast. It's really the guest, and we've had some really great guests. And what's amazing is quite a few of these have actually picked up roles or have helped with the podcast. And we'll start with Paul Kassar, our friend there from Australia. Right from the beginning, Paul was show number 4. And then he had such an enthusiasm for the podcast. Sometimes I question my own enthusiasm, again, weighted up against Paul's, because Paul was just such a phenomenal, enthusiastic cheerleader for the podcast. And then as he started to suggest more guests, and he was, adding ideas and everything, I said, I kind of jokingly said Paul's like the unofficial executive producer. And then some along the way, not too far into it, I made that official. So Paul, the executive producer of Around the Layout, he does a lot of the behind the scenes stuff for me. He helps out with show notes, helps with organizing guests. He just does a whole bunch of really cool things up behind the scenes for me, and has been a huge help for the podcast. So thanks, Paul. Appreciate you, and look forward to working with you as we add more guests to the show and put more podcasts out and grow our listening group. So really appreciate you. Other guys that have been on the show, Kyle LeBlanc, good friend of mine. Kevin Gallagher, it was excellent hearing him talk about all the painting stuff that he does up in the Hopedale shops, and learned a lot from him. Chris Adams, who lives not too far from me, and I'm looking forward to getting over and seeing his layout very soon. Joe Musgrove, love seeing your updates after the podcast. He does a lot of great video updates. Jeff Hankey from the Nutmeg NMRA division. Jeff was great, came on and talked about the regional event, and looking forward to seeing him very soon up at the next meeting. Dan Dosa from the Crossing Gate. Dan talked about his layout, and looking forward to hearing more episodes with him on it on the Crossing Gate. Dave Appensano gave us a look at his BNSF layout. That was really phenomenal. I met him at the NERPM event, and was really great to connect with him on the podcast. Tony Cook again. Tony Cook is a Just Push Play guy, and I saw a comment here from Shane Mason. Tony could go on for hours. Super lucky to work with the guy. He's just fantastic as his podcast is. Slowly catching up after hearing about it from Andy and Mike. So yeah, Shane, you've got an awesome opportunity to be a part of his team and have him working, whether you're working for or with. I like the with. You're working with him, so that's great. And looking forward to getting him back on the podcast. So Andy Dorsch joining us. Yes, Paul is an awesome helper. He sure is, and I know you love doing it too, and glad to have you, Paul. Brian chiming in here. Please do a pre and post Big E show with John Sacerdoti. Really loved his interview. We do have something on the schedule with John, so looking forward to that. Chris Bell wishing a happy Thanksgiving with some very appropriate emojis. Is that what they're called? Emojis? I'm getting old. Back to the guests here. Isaac Fabris, again, great young modeler with a lot going on, and great social media presence. If you're not following him, definitely check him out. Chris Adkins, was fortunate enough to see his layout in Texas, and look forward to getting back down there again and checking it out. He's going to be a pretty busy guy, part of the Texas Express 2023 NMRA National Convention that's being held in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So looking forward to getting down and seeing him on that. Scott Thornton, very talented man, building his first layout, and what a first attempt it is. Very amazing stuff. And then his writing following his article in Railroad Model Craftsman. That's been a real joy. And then more connection back to Texas with Greg McComas and MacRail. Greg's got a great product line going with MacRail. It was a pleasure to get to see his layout and then get to see the offerings from MacRail and MacRail headquarters and see what he's up to. We mentioned John Sacerdoti. John was a great guest. If anybody, I think John needs a new chair though. If you listen to that podcast, John's chair chimes in quite a bit, but he was an awesome guest. Awesome to have him on the podcast for sure. Michael, Isaac is a neighbor of mine 5 houses away. That's awesome. Isaac's a great guy, and being able to be that close to his layout and be able to see it, I'm sure is a pleasure. Lauren James, I saw Lauren. I think we did mention him. He was here and chimed in. Lauren did the latest what's happening in model railroading segment, and talked about his shop and then the OVR trains cars that are coming out. Looking forward to seeing those NSC 6400s along with a whole bunch of other projects that he's got going. So really cool stuff out of Lauren. Tom Johnson, that podcast just released the other day. Hope folks have had a chance to listen to that. Tom's a phenomenal modeler. He was highlighted in a recent article, cover article, or in RMC. So definitely check out both the RMC and hopefully get the podcast as well. He shares a lot of information and a very unique approach to the hobby. And then the ones that we have in the pipeline, recorded already, Sammy Carlisle, Dean Ferris, and John Farrington. Those will all be coming up very soon. We've got quite a few guests also being set up to be recorded. So really looking forward to getting a whole bunch of new folks on the podcast. The podcasts have given the hobby something you can't get in print, the flow of give and take on wise the thoughts of modelers. I appreciate the compliment there, Chris. And, the podcasts definitely have their place in the hobby and have definitely helped, the communication channels. I like to think that they complement the magazines. There's something special about a magazine to have the ability to read what somebody has written and they get that forum. And then when they get on a podcast, the give and take and the questions and kind of builds upon that. So I think they kind of work hand in hand very well. So appreciate the feedback and the comment on that. You might be able to tell I'm fighting through a little bit of a weather changing cold here. So I appreciate you bearing with me on that. Also want to give a shout out to the fellow podcasters, and there's three immediate that come to mind. Actually, I guess we got to count. There's a whole group of them, but three podcasts that come to mind. And the first one I want to thank is Lionel Strang in A Modeler's Life podcast, appearing on his show and building a relationship in the early parts with Lionel was inspirational. What he has done with the Modeler's Life podcast has been really fantastic. So I really want to thank him for that. And, the encouragement to do this. When the podcast started early on, he helped promote it on the podcast, mentioned it. And a lot of the people that are in the AML Nation are also a big part of that. Dalton, I'm not sure why you're not hearing anything. I'm hoping that you folks are still able to hear. I did put it on mute for just a moment. Somebody can verify that you can still hear. That'd be great. I'm going to assume that everybody can still hear me. Okay, Greg McComas, great. Loud and clear, coming in from Texas. So great. Thank you, Greg. And good to see you. The crew at the Crossing Gate podcast also been a great support of the podcast. Thomas Geisher shared out quite a few of the posts, and the support of that network is certainly a huge help. And then the guys over at Second Section, Andy Dorsch and Mike Ostertag, great supporters of the podcast, good friends. We've been able to do a lot of information sharing back and forth, and we bounce ideas and things off of each other and give each other the support. So it's great. If you've all saw my podcast, my post regarding podcasts, I won't get my soapbox out too far. I'll just say it's really been great to have a multitude of different podcasts coming in at different angles and looking at the hobby from different ways. It is beneficial to us all. So thanks to those guys and, other podcasts as well that I may not have mentioned. I admire you. It's not easy. It's not easy to fire up a microphone and sit in front of it and wonder who's listening and whatnot. So appreciate all of you guys and what you're doing. Alex had a question here. Any plans to release an episode weekly, or does that interfere with your day job and other life commitments? Eventually I'd like to get to a weekly podcast. Paul Kassar and I both have had this conversation before. And right now, a bi-weekly podcast is about what I can handle for the moment. It is quite a bit, making sure you get the guests, line it up, the dates. The thing that I want to make sure I do is stay consistent. I don't want to miss a week or a bye week or whatnot. I want to be able to put the podcasts out at a regular pace. So right now it's every other week. I appreciate the ask. I'm hoping that means that you want to hear more, which is really cool. And I think eventually we will get there. It's going to take a little time. I've got to get myself completely set up and running with a good pace to do that. And guys like Paul really helped that. Paul's chiming in here. Second Section is a great podcast and YouTube channel. Love their short line segments. I'll tell you, a lot of people talk about your short line segments, Andy, as you're saying thanks, and glad to get to know you as well. The short line segment is very popular. I hear a lot of people talk about the short line segment. So you guys are doing great work over there. Keep it up, and look forward to hearing what you guys got coming next. What's the executive producer have to say here? Yeah, he's wanted weekly, but if time permits, maybe one monthly. What's happening, and the other 3 around the layout. So we're working on it. It's a work in progress and something that's on our mind. It is a goalpost that's out there that we're aiming towards, but at this point, really the key is to stay consistent and make sure that the podcasts come out in a dependable way, and we don't miss. So. I appreciate the kind words there, Dalton, that we do try to stay on topic. I think there's some others that may do that, but there's some other good ones out there as well that really put on a good show as well. So appreciate it. Go eat that dinner. So thanks, Alex, and happy Thanksgiving to you. And Chris, great. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate the comments. Really enjoy that. And, credit goes to the guests that come on and share their story. It's not easy. We talk about it's not easy to put on a podcast. It's not easy to be a guest either. And, come on and, be ask questions and be able to be comfortable in that atmosphere. So credit to the long list that we're building of guests and those folks that have been willing to come on and share their story. So, yeah, great. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my family and, how this podcast works and the thankfulness I have for my wife and my children for putting up with it. Right now, my wife's out there working hard to get a Thanksgiving dinner prepared, and I'm in here in the back side of the house in the around the studio, around the layout studio. Let's try that and say that right. She puts up with a lot, and the kids put up with a lot to have the door closed with a recording sign on it and not be able to be too loud in the house and turn the TVs down, and kids go to bed so I can do the podcast. They do support it a lot, and they have their share that they've done for it. So very thankful for my loving wife and very big support from her. So. I appreciate that there, Grain Express. Consistent, but pace yourself and don't burn out. That's kind of the idea. We don't want to go to weekly and then miss a show and then, where'd that guy go and whatnot. I'm just going to try to keep it paced out here. So appreciate that. And Sean, thank you for the kind words. The Tom Johnson episode really was a great episode. I had a lot of fun recording that with him. And then I had RMC right in my hands as we were talking and being able to use that. RMC is just a great publication. I say it many times over. Otto and his team have done a phenomenal job with that magazine. It's a great one to be in. Proud to have an article put in this last month. It was a lot of fun to do, and certainly an honor to be in such a great magazine. So that was it. I just wanted to jump on tonight and just, say hello to everybody. Wish you ever all a happy Thanksgiving that are here in the United States. And for everybody else that's been a part of the podcast. And the support of the listeners has just been a huge, huge piece for me. From those that have sent in emails, compliments about the show, even critiques. I'd love to hear your feedback around the layout at gmail.com. Send it to me. Let me know what you think of the shows. If there's somebody else that you think should be interviewed, send them in. We love to get all the feedback that we get, and all the feedback that we get. The request for stickers has been phenomenal. It's been a lot of fun to send stickers out, and then you keep your part and make sure you take a picture of those stickers and show us where you got them. Put them in the group so that we get to see them. If you're not a part of our Facebook group, it's Friends of Around the Layout. Just look for that group and be sure to join and share it up and share what you're up to as well. We'd love to see what you got going on the layout or on the workbench or whatever else you got going on. So Dave, you're going to have to listen to the first part of it. We've talked about you and the huge help that you've been. So hope you get to listen to that, buddy. And I'm sure we'll be talking very soon. So Bob Sardnola, thanks for checking in with a very inside joke about VB Script. Yes. I think Andy, we talked about it, and I didn't even know about rail passes. Like, that was the first I learned. And then I got my first rail pass a couple weeks ago. And then, but I think stickers have become the new rail pass. And boy, oh boy, you're right. Everyone loves stickers. So, requests keep coming in for them. And if you'd like me to send you a sticker, just send me an email around the layout at gmail.com. Don't forget to put your mailing address. If you just email me and say, hey, send me a sticker, I really can't work with just the email address. So make sure you send me a mailing, your actual mailing address, so I can send that out to you. So, Paul, it's been very rewarding working with you on this podcast. It's great to put back into the hobby. Has been so good to us and have made so many friends. Absolutely, Paul. It's been a blast working with you. I look forward to a continued relationship there. Dalton, I wouldn't put pressure on himself in getting a podcast out. Quality. I totally agree with you. It really is. It's about the quality, not quantity. So I try to do my best. Hey, like I said, I got a long way to go. Got a lot to learn, and look forward to doing more podcasts. That definitely helps. So, Tim, like the interview with Kevin Gallagher. His tips on painting was very helpful. Absolutely. The funny part with Kevin Gallagher was the comment he made that really was funny to me, obviously. And, it was the mixing paint. You add a color, mix. Next thing you know, you've got 8 gallons of the same of the color that you needed only a little bit of. So it's good to hear a guy who does a lot of painting and whatnot still struggle with that same problem. So it was really cool to hear Kevin and some of his tips and techniques. So, Roger, you're another one, loves the stickers. We all love the stickers, and it's been a lot of fun to see other people get into the sticker thing. And we were going to these operating sessions, the Tri-State guys, and we were joking that it starts with the sticker store opening up where everybody gets the stickers out, and then we're trading stickers again and whatnot. So it's been a lot of fun, the sticker thing. And if you haven't created a sticker for your layout yet, it is a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun to see them sent around. So I think we distribute our tickets or our stickers a lot better than these Taylor Swift tickets have been lately, but it's funny. It's good, as valuable as Taylor Swift's. Chris, I really enjoyed the interview with Lauren. You think you know all about the guy, but I learned even more. Yeah, it's really cool to be able to talk to a guy. And Lauren, very driven right from a young age. It was really neat to hear the backstory of Otter Valley, and he's got a lot of big plans, and have really no doubt that he's going to be able to achieve them based on what he's done already. And really looking forward to getting my NSC 6400 car. Already put that on pre-order. And if you haven't yet, definitely check out Otter Valley Railroad and their website. Whether you're in Canada or in the States, he'll definitely be able to help you out. And Corey, you are a little behind on making your stickers, so maybe you got a couple days off. Maybe you can put that to good progress and get yourself a sticker. You're slacking behind the group there. So yeah, the stickers are a lot less costly than Taylor's. They're free if you just send a request to aroundthelayout@gmail.com. Happy to send you out a sticker. So again, guys, guys and gals, folks, thank you for jumping in tonight on our little live show. I'm kind of scrambling around a little bit because I'm doing something I normally don't do, which is kind of run off the cuff here. So appreciate you putting up with that and checking in with Around the Layout here, and really appreciate your support and all the nice things that you folks have said. Trackside Mike, thanks for checking in. And, I'll put this out as a podcast as well. I'm recording this, so I'll put this together. So if anybody missed it or wants to go back and listen to it again and hear what I had to say, you can pull that down as a podcast. So couple quick things. Make sure, again, if you're not a member of the Friends of Around the Layout Facebook group, dive right in and get yourself in there. It's a great group. We share information and layout updates, a whole 9 yards. So just be sure to dive right in there and check that out. Check out the fan store. Appreciate all the support that comes from that. The podcast does come with a little bit of expense, and your support in the fan shop, whether it be a coffee cup or a shirt or a sweatshirt or any of the other Around the Layout merchandise that's available in there. Purchases from there definitely help pay the bills and keep me off the couch and in a comfortable bed. So appreciate all the support that comes in from there. And again, aroundthelayout.com. If you've missed any episodes, go back, just click on podcasts. You can see all the episodes that are available. So check that out. And again, to everybody, whether you're in the United States or not, happy Thanksgiving. I appreciate all of your support and look forward to connecting with all of you here in the near future. You have a great night. Enjoy.